Happy Tuesday and welcome back to the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. Mark Moyer doing some great things with his informational and networking events. Check out winagainacademy.com. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome Natalie Hummel to the Wolff Den. Natalie, thanks for your time here today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. Super excited to get a chance to talk with you today.
So appropriate that Win Again Academy is a partner of Ticket Time Machine in the Wolff Den, because I met you, like I met a number of my other guests, at one of Mark's events. So for those people tuning in who are not aware of who you are and what you do, give them a quick intro.
Sure. My name's Natalie Hummel. I'm the co-founder and executive director of an organization called Every Kid Sports. Our mission is to help level the playing field of playing youth sports. So we help low-income kids or kids from income-restricted families get equal access to youth sports programming. We do that by covering up to $150 of their sports registration fees. We do that up to 4 times a year. So we actually want to encourage kids to become multi-sport athletes and do sports sampling to find the sport that, most inspires them. So families can come back to us for support year after year to keep their kids playing and active. So.
Yeah, great organization. I love the helping out youth, especially underprivileged youth. That's certainly something that needs to be corrected and get them more access, because for a ton of reasons, and we'll get into the reasons why kids playing sports is huge. $150 4 times a year. It's been a while since I played in youth sports. I don't have any kids right now. What is, how expensive is it for kids to play in a Little League baseball or a soccer team? I used to think it was maybe half of that, but now it sounds like it might be more.
Yeah, it's kind of all over the board. Our average that we see is around $100 to register a child for sports. We cover from age 5 up through high school sports. And so a lot of high school pay-to-play fees for football and other sports can be, up to $300 to $500. So we kind of picked the 150 because we knew it would cover a lot of the sports. There are a lot of affordable recreational sports that kids can play. We've seen registration fees, $25, $50, $75, for the younger kids. As they get older, the fees go up. There's more involved. The uniforms get nicer, different things like that. So it just kind of depends. So we tried to hit a number that would help as many kids as possible, but also really make a difference. You don't want to offer $50, and if the program's $300, that isn't going to really help that family get that child in the game. So
maybe a weird question: are you paying the families, or are you paying the organizations and paying the fees directly?
Yeah, so we are just rolling out a new model where we're actually issuing an electronic payment card to the family that they can use, and the card will have controls on it, so they can only use it in certain at certain organizations, and they can then register their child just like everybody else. So it is designed to to really break down that barrier and make it so that they don't have to go to the youth sports organization and say, hey, I can't afford to pay, or I got this scholarship and it's going to be coming to you separately. The money goes right to the family, but it goes in a way that's controlled.
Yeah. And it stinks that we even have to talk about this, but when you talk about handouts, which this is, right? I mean, it's a handout. I'm not saying it's not using that in a negative way, but you don't want people just taking advantage of it and using that money for stuff that they shouldn't. You got 3-4 kids, that's $600, 3-4 times a year. It kind of adds up. So it's great to see that you guys have the controls on it, and hopefully that encourages more people to kind of use it. And because I assume, well, you guys are at the startup, but you might have extras. Sometimes you just don't. You have more resources than you do people who are needing those resources, or not needing them, but knowing about them.
Yes.
Right? So you're going out there. I was a recipient of a grant for a conference, and they're like, look, we have all these grants to give. We need to give to more. So part of the biggest thing for you guys is just getting your information out there and people to actually know that this is a thing.
Yeah, so we just received the funding to be able to take our program nationally. And we've been in the Pacific Northwest. We did have a national program with T-Mobile and Little League where we were helping low-income families register their kids for Little League. And now we're able to offer our platform for any sport. And that's one of the things where we love the most about what we do is it's all about kid choice. A lot of times there's a free program that's offered in their community and maybe they get to play soccer for free. Well, there's just some kids that soccer isn't their sport and that doesn't appeal to them. So we really try and, or we do cover every sport imaginable, and it's all about what that child wants to play. And, one of the things with, expanding nationally, there are so many kids that need help that we don't know exactly what to anticipate. I mean, we've been doing this for 11 years in the Pacific Northwest and in this area. And this is really, our first time to try it on a national stage. And so there's two sides to it, right? There's one is like, man, if too many people find out about it, the money will go so quickly, which actually would be a great problem to have because that'll just show how much need there is for what we're doing. And then, the other side is that there's not enough families applying or knowing about it. So we're kind of like working on both sides, trying to get enough families to know about it and raising enough funding so that as families learn about it, that we can help as many families as possible.
Yeah, a couple of things there. Every kid loves soccer until they realize it's a little boring to play and there's less, there's more popular sports to do. It's one of the things that really boggles my mind how the U.S. isn't better at soccer considering, I mean, literally every kid plays soccer. I mean, when I grew up and all my friends' kids, they all play soccer. And yet we're a little, we're kind of behind. I would think we would have done better by now. But congrats on being able to roll out nationally. There's no reason to believe that it wouldn't be successful in all areas of the country if it was successful in the upper, you said what, Northwest?
Yes. Yeah.
There's no reason to do it, but how do you get visibility? What's the plan to roll out and to really get the marketing going and people aware of what you're doing?
Yeah,
Wolff then, of course.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Well, we've been working with a lot of different national partners that are lined up to help us get the word out. So one of our partners, communication partners, is Stack Sports. Stack Sports is one of the largest registration platforms. They have grown through acquisition, so they have a lot of different smaller registration platforms that they've acquired over last bunch of years. And so they're able to communicate directly with the families that use their registration platform that this is available. They also have tons and tons of leagues that use their software. So they'll be able to let the leagues know that this is available. Also, the national partner that we brought on is going to be engaging with us in a lot of different ways. And one of that is, putting marketing dollars towards this as well and really advertising that this is available. And, we're just doing lots of creative things. We're working on our social media and doing, lots of podcasts like what I'm doing here today. And, just lots of ways to educate people that this is available, because one of our goals with all of this is we really want to reach those families that might be disenfranchised from youth sports. And their kids just aren't playing at all. And, there's some low income or income restricted families that are making the choice to get their kids in sports, and they've reached out to the youth sports organization. They might be getting a local scholarship. And now what they're really trying to do is, now we might be making it a little bit easier for them to get that funding. But really the kids that I want to reach are the ones that aren't getting a chance to play at all. So that's who we're really trying to reach. And sometimes those are harder to reach. You're not just going to a youth sports organization. You actually need to figure out how to get into their communities and reach them and let them know this is available, because they might not be, a lot of them don't have cell phones and aren't on social media and don't have access to the same type of communication that other people might have.
Yeah. What are the qualifications? I mean, there's obviously a cutoff, right? Just
Yeah, so in order for a family to qualify, they have to just show us that they are a low-income family and that they qualify for some other type of government funding. So it could be the SNAP food program, it could be Medicaid or the Affordable Care Act options in their state, and then it could be WIC. It could be that they're part of foster care. So those are the main things that we look at. And what they need to provide when they fill out an application is they actually need to provide their enrollment document. And so a lot of times people will take a picture of their card that shows that they have their card, and that isn't valid for us. We actually need to see the enrollment document that shows the child's name, shows the dates that it's valid for. So.
what about the people that are embarrassed to acknowledge that they qualify for that stuff, and how do you deal with that? I'm sure I got to assume that's a problem with other things too, the negative stigma of being on food stamps or.
Yes, for sure. I think that one of the things that we've done is we've created a very discreet private process. So they don't have to talk to somebody. They don't have to call us up and say, hey, I can't afford this. They're able to do it in the privacy of their own home, on their computer or on their cell phone. They just have to upload that documentation. That's one of the things that we've really prided ourselves on, is that it is discreet, that really nobody needs to know. And it isn't something where, yes, they do have to fill out the application and tell us, but they don't have to, pick up a phone and call somebody. They're able to do it discreetly.
No, I think that's good. We want people who need it to take advantage of it and not feel like, there's so many stigmas about it. I always talk about mental health, but there's just so many stigmas and people being shamed for certain things that I think it's really, a deterrent for people to do things that they normally might do. And there's really it's just another form of bullying. It doesn't make sense to me. Where do you guys go? Obviously you're going to roll it out nationally. Is there any thought about helping schools that don't have money for programs as a kid gets older and he's going through it, and let's say he's playing soccer, but he's going to a high school and that high school can't afford a soccer program. Is that something that you guys would help? Is that something that you're looking into?
Well, we work directly with helping a family register their child. And so if there is a high school that has determined that they're not going to do a soccer program, we don't really have anything to help that school, other than if it is a school that's in a low-income community and they realize that all of the kids who would play high school soccer, could now apply for up to $150 to cover that. It could give some high schools the resources that they need to be able to start a soccer program. A lot of times at a low-income school, they won't start a soccer program because they know that the kids, can't pay the fees to be able to play, and it eliminates that program. So by giving them the ability to apply for some support, that it could give those schools the confidence to open those types of programs. But we don't work directly with schools and reach out to them to let them know. We do work with schools in the sense that, there are a lot of schools that have pay-to-play fees, and we want, kids from income restricted families to have the same opportunity to play those sports. But as far as like helping a school get a soccer program, we aren't currently focused there.
Okay. What's the most popular sport? Is it baseball?
No, God, that's a good question. I don't think that I've run the numbers on it. We've actually funded over 70 different sports, believe it or not. And from, martial arts to different kinds of dance to, swimming and water polo and roller derby and ice skating. And there's, every ball sport and team sport you can think about, and track and field, and there's a million different sports. And so it would be, I'm not sure what is the most popular sport. I know baseball participation is actually declining across the US. So I'm pretty sure it's not baseball. I would bet, if I were to guess, it's soccer, but that's also been declining because all sports really are declining.
Do we draw as, let's get controversial for a second. Where do we draw the line on what we call a sport? Cheerleading, NASCAR, all those the general sports that people are like, is that really a sport? I assume, cheerleading, if someone doesn't have money for cheerleading, I assume you would support them with that, correct?
Oh, yeah, we absolutely support cheerleading. What we really look at is physical activity. So it has to include, like, there's a lot of esports that we do not fund because even though some people claim that that's a sport, there's really no physical activity involved in that. They're sitting down and playing a video game.
You need stamina. How about poker?
Yep, no poker.
Yeah, for you guys.
Yeah. So we've actually funded marching band, which a lot of people are like, what, marching band? But it actually, it's a lot of physical activity. They're marching and they're doing a lot of physical activity. So that's really our benchmark. That we look at programs that have sustained participation. So we don't do like a week-long camp. We're looking at a minimum of a 6-week program. And because we want to create athletes. And so we want it to be sustained over time and actually building the physical literacy of the kids that are playing.
Yeah, well, marching band is very integrated with sports anyway. Also, you don't go to a game without a band.
Yes,
band in there, and town twirlers. How about with the disabled people? Has that been something that you guys have gotten, or that people need assistance for? There's obviously it's just a financial thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We have helped a lot of kids with disabilities get access to sports as well. Through our Little League T-Mobile call-up grant, we did help with the Challenger division, which is a specific division inside of Little League that is specifically for kids with disabilities. We also have had some local programs. Oregon Adaptive Sports has some really great adaptive programs. And we've helped low-income kids, that are disabled participate in those programs. So really, as long as the family, is a family that is in need, and if they happen to have a child who's disabled, we'll absolutely help them play whatever sports are available to them.
What was your background? How did you get into this?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong athlete. I was a multi-sport athlete in high school. I went on to play Division I volleyball. I had a career in business consulting and done a lot in sales and sales management, and then I was an executive coach. And it was really when I learned that so many kids were not participating in sports. Only 22% of low-income kids right now are getting the chance to play sports. And if they are getting a chance to play, it's usually something that's free in their community in a limited season. And I just know how much I personally benefited from playing youth sports. And, the research is overwhelming, that it's something like 95% of top executives in Fortune 500 companies played sports. And it's even higher for women. Women who do well in business typically played high school sports. And so, and when I was seeing how many kids were just getting priced out of the game, I felt like something had to be done. So we started Every Kid Sports with that simple goal, that simple goal of just helping more kids get access to sports. And, the other statistic that really stood out is that 70% of kids by the age of 13 are dropping out of youth sports. So we also want to try and figure out how do we keep more kids, in the game and playing longer. And a lot of that in our country is because of this competitive sports model. And I would love to see that changed over time. Right now, so many kids are forced into a competitive year-round sports program when they reach about age 13. And for so many kids, that's just not a model that works for them. My daughter, I always like to talk about her. She was a great soccer player, but she played on a recreational soccer team. And up and through 8th grade, there was recreational soccer in our community. But once you got into high school, all the recreational programs went away. And all there was either club or, the competitive high school team. And that didn't appeal to her. So she dropped out at that age. and she would have kept playing, and she'd still be playing soccer today if there was somewhere for her to play. And so I'd love to see more recreational programs that serve kids all the way through high school opening up around the country as well. So we're hoping with some of this funding and that there are programs like that could start, especially in lower income communities.
I mean, in college you have intramural sports, and that's kind of just a continuation of rec leagues. So it seems like there's a gap here, in between. For me, basketball you can play, all the time, even just pick up and stuff like that. But stuff like soccer, you see people playing in the fields, but it's not. They put the cones, and it's not the same. And same with baseball, you're going to need enough people to field a team. It's a huge time commitment, youth sports. So I think maybe money isn't the only thing that's stopping everyone to do it. I actually wanted to volunteer for basketball, to be a basketball coach, and I think I needed to like 3 nights a week. And I'm like, look, I don't have any kids on the team. I think I'd like to, it's a little bit too much for me, so I didn't do it. And my friends had kids playing, competitive sports, and it's like every weekend and 5 days a week. It's crazy. It's almost like the high school for some of these people. So I'd assume that time is like the parents that are working, can they get out to get their kids? I wonder if there's not some type of availability to help families in that way too down the line.
Well, so what you're talking about when it's 5 days a week and traveling on the weekends, those are those competitive programs. Yeah. And those are the program. I just don't believe in that model. Most parents that choose that for their kids think they're doing what's best for their kids. But the research overwhelmingly shows that those programs actually are hurting our kids. There's tons of overuse injuries. There's burnout. It's not actually helping them build their athleticism. It's helping them build skills in that specific sport. But if you think of a young boy, when they're 9, 10, 11 years old, their body looks a certain way. They might be fast, they might be slow, whatever it is. Their body will be completely different by the time they're 18 years old. And the body that they have when they're 18 could be, let's say they start off in soccer and they're quick and they're fast when they're 8, 9, 10 years old. When they're 18, maybe they're a big, bulky kid who really has defined, muscles and is really strong, but all he's ever played is soccer, where football might be the thing that he would be best at, or maybe blocking out in basketball under the net. But if he's never played and never been introduced to the sport, it's much, and if he hasn't built his overall athleticism by being a multi-sport athlete, it's much harder for him to transition to that sport. So we really believe that kids should be going from sport to sport to sport. They should be playing a lot of different sports when they're young, and they really shouldn't be specializing until they're 17, 18, 19 years old. And unfortunately, in our country, kids are specializing at 9, 10, and 11 years old. And I'll just say flat out that that is not good for them. And there's the rare child that serves.
Yeah, there's college, right? You get a free scholarship, so you're kind of, if you don't start till 16, 17, you're probably not going to be get a scholarship. I think sometimes the way that there's a lot of stuff to try and get the pro, and we all know that's a one, less than a 1%. But there's a lot of room in scholarships, and it's and the other thing is, the funny thing about parents, and I know this because when I was a kid and I see it with my other, like your kid probably is not as good as you think they are. And everyone thinks their kid, right? Everyone thinks their kid is much better than they think they are. And some of them are really good, but I agree with you. I think if you do one less practice, it's not going to affect, I think, your ability. The game is good. Practice is good. You can practice on your own too. There's little things that you can do without having a formal practice where you have to, take time out of whatever it is else you could be doing. So I do agree with that.
Yeah, but each of those sports, that like if you're going from sport to sport to sport and you're playing a lot of different sports, you're learning different, you're building your athleticism and you're learning different skills that can translate into you becoming a better athlete. And if you look at the professional athletes, almost all of the really successful professional athletes are multi-sport athletes. They all played multiple sports growing up. So this philosophy that, I'm not going to get a college scholarship unless I start specializing at a young age, it's not true. It absolutely fundamentally is not true. And most college coaches, they look for those multi-sport athletes. They want those kids that played lots of different sports and built their overall athleticism. So,
still, when you talk about overuse, it's still a problem if you're playing, going from basketball to football to baseball or soccer. So that some of that is still a problem, right? The overuse.
It is, but not the same thing as for example, if you're going to be a pitcher in the pros, a baseball pitcher, most of the guys who become pitchers in the pros, they don't start pitching until they're late in college. So they usually have played all kinds of other sports. And when you go from playing, football to baseball to basketball, you're using different muscles. You're standing differently. You're not overthrowing all the time. There's only one person in football that throws a lot. That's the quarterback. The rest of the players are tackling and catching and doing other things and running. And so it's very different what the wear and tear is on your body. And there's something to be said for having breaks. The kids need those downtimes, those 2 or 3 weeks in between seasons where you really don't have anything on your plate, allows your body to recover. And then you get prepared for the next season. And I know for myself as a multi-sport athlete growing up, it's like, I loved volleyball. Volleyball was my sport. But by the end of the volleyball season, I was pretty much ready to be done. And I was super excited for basketball. And, and then I'd get fired up about basketball and it'd be so fun. And then, near the end of the basketball season, I'd be pretty ready for basketball to be done, and then it'd be on to soccer and softball and track. And, I did a lot of different things in the spring. And for me, it was always good to have, I was always excited at the beginning of the season. And then, it was good to be done by the end. And so, gosh, to play year round, I remember when I first got into college and it was year round, I was kind of like, whoa, this is, all of a sudden it became a job. And I will say a lot of the fun of playing went out, even though it was playing at a very high level. So,
I agree. I think there's got to be a happy medium. I don't necessarily think it's as late as you think it is, but it's definitely not as early as what's going on now. So, you just got to have people who are willing to take that chance to prove it, and then hopefully make some change there.
Yeah.
Certainly what you guys are doing might help. Do you have any indication how many people are playing multiple sports that are being supported by you?
Boy, I don't have those numbers. Yeah, off the top of my head. I mean, we don't pay for the same sport all year round. So if they're using our program, they'd be going to different sports. We do have some families that are doing martial arts and things like that have ongoing, like a 6-week program and then another 6-week program. But most of our families are going from sport to sport to sport to sport because that's what we see.
Not a lot of people just saying, hey, my kid just wants to play Little League and you help him with that.
That's right. That's right. I mean, Little League only some leagues have 2 seasons, but most of the leagues just have a spring season for Little League. Some have a spring and a summer, depending upon if they're in a really populated area where baseball is really popular. So, a lot of those sports are set up that way, where, especially at the recreational level, which is what we support, they're set up seasonally.
Yeah. My friends' kids, they're in Arizona. I feel like it's soccer, like European soccer. I just never know. It's always in season. It's hard to tell if it's this season or the next season it's never ending. It's crazy. You said you have some great national partners for every kid's sports. What about athletes? I mean, are any athletes on board yet? Is that something you're looking to integrate?
Yeah, we have a really cool champions program that we have where we engage professional athletes and people who have big followings to be a part of our organization. Our champions program is really designed to help us get the word out about what we're doing. And we do have some amazing champions. We have some gold medal Olympians, and we have some professional athletes, and that program's growing. We also have Will Buxton. He's like an announcer for Formula One, and he's an amazing guy who really believes in the power sport. And he's been probably our most prolific champion to date of just building awareness of our organization on a national stage, or actually he's international. So
is there thought about, are there other programs? Are they doing this outside of the US? I know there's some programs that are similar to this in the US, but I think, as you mentioned, they're more focused on one sport. What's the landscape out there?
Yeah, we haven't found that we found little pockets in certain communities where people are doing something similar to us. Nothing on a national scale in the U.S. Canada actually has a government program that helps underserved kids get access to youth sports, and in Australia they actually have a program that we that we found years ago that we've kind of modeled ours after. We've kind of taken it to the next level, but we got started by looking at what we're doing. And this is also funded by the government, and it's a program. I think it's called Sports for All or something like that. And it just makes sure that cost is not a barrier for youth sports participation. So they ensure that all the kids get the same equal chance to play sports. So so there are definitely other programs around the world that are focused on this, but I think we're the only one in the U.S. that has the model going directly to the families.
Yeah, if your rollout nationally is successful, is there opportunity for grants and government to subsidize?
I've kind of stayed away from government funding only because it changes from administration to administration, and you typically have to do a lot of work to secure the government funding. And so it just, we've had such great success working with our corporate partners. That's been kind of our model over the years, and we've had a lot of success with that. So it's kind of like, if it's not broken, don't try and fix it. So
yeah, I get it's a nasty game too. I know my friends were talking about getting grants from an education standpoint, and there's a lot of money out there, but it's not easy to get. And then, like you said, it could change all in a day. And then
I've seen a lot of organizations. Yeah, I've seen a lot of organizations fold suddenly because they were reliant on government funding, and the funding disappeared. And so I've just always been made a choice early on. We didn't want to have that kind of reliance on that type of funding. And now, if there was a program that came available and it made sense, it's not like I wouldn't do it. So
I was I have a terrible story to tell here. We're playing youth soccer. I have a twin brother, and we were both pretty good athletes, but always on the same team. And we're playing soccer, and I forget the particulars of it, but I must have been really mad at him about something. And the time came for an all-star vote, and I think I voted for this other kid instead of my brother. And I think he missed out by like that one vote. If he's listening, I'm sorry. It was a long, long time ago, and I was selfish back then. Youth sports was great. My brother and I were very good basketball players, and my dad was our coach, so he used to get us 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Which is nobody was beating us. It was fun though, but we met some good friends playing, and I wish I would have participated more. Played a little bit of soccer, played baseball, little league, and basketball. I wanted to maybe get into football. It's a lot though. It's a lot for the parents. It's a lot for the kids. Even about you got to balance the sports between academics too. And once you have a taste of the sports, you're always going to want to keep playing them. But I think it's definitely something that's needed. With the national rollout, what's the plan? Is it big cities first? Is it certain segments, or you're just going everywhere?
We're just going everywhere. So yeah, June 22nd, we're going to be opening up our program across the country. Right now, if a family were to come online and try to apply from one of those other areas, it'd say, hey, check back soon. And now the gates will just be open. And so if somebody finds out about it in, the middle of the country, they can apply. If they find out about it down in Florida, they can apply. So anywhere that there's a need, and it's we're anticipating. So one of the things that's happened with COVID is that youth sports organizations have really been impacted. They were never designed to not have a sports season. And if you think about it, especially in an underserved low income community, those organizations a lot of times were either run by volunteers or was somebody who really was invested in that community. They were never designed to not have a season. They have to pay their rent. They have employees. They have fields they need to rent and different things. And for a lot of them, they were right in the midst of delivering their programming when everything was shut down. A lot of them had to refund the money, but they'd already purchased uniforms and incurred other costs. So a lot of them were forced to shut their doors, and without help, without intervention, a lot of those would be closed forever. And so we're really on a mission to try and save as many of those local youth sports providers as we can. And the way that we, think is one of the best ways to do it is if they know that there's a bunch of kids in their community that can register, and that can give them the confidence to open their doors again, because then they know that they can get their programs going again. So we're really hopeful that we can help save as many of those youth sports providers. And, a lot of people aren't thinking about those youth sports providers. There's the competitive programs. They kept going throughout, COVID, and the people that had money were paying for their kids to do something online or were doing whatever they needed to save those organizations. So what we're trying to do is save those really small, fragile ones that were fragile really before the pandemic because of decreasing participation rates. But they're the lifebloods of youth sports. They're the ones that were in those communities saving those kids on a daily basis. So we want to save those.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty popular quickly, and so hopefully it'll keep spreading. And as you said, running out of money to help them would be a good thing. I think you just shows that they need more, and hopefully more people step up to help out do that. There's some really great kids sports movies. Do you have a favorite? I mean, Sandlot is probably my favorite when you talk about kids sports, but you got movies like Little Giants and The Bad News Bears. Do you have a favorite of kids playing sports in movies?
Oh man, I love. The Sandlot is like one of the best all time. Yeah. Oh God, there's so many good ones. I mean, yeah, you named a couple there, Bad News Bears, and I love a lot of those sports movies. We were just watching a couple with our kids, and I can't think of the titles right now, but they're just like, they just crack. They're funny, but they're also inspirational and just can show the power of getting those kids to play sports for sure.
Yeah, I recommend the movie Hardball with Keanu Reeves if you haven't seen it. He is it has to do with baseball. It's kind of like a Bad News Bears for underprivileged kids, and it's good. It's funny. It's sad. It's heartwarming. It's called Hardball. Keanu Reeves. Definitely want to check it out.
Okay.
What you played college? You said in volleyball.
Yes.
And what about a bucket list for sporting events that you've been to as an adult? Do you have any? What was your favorite sports moment, and what's a bucket list that you haven't gotten to?
Oh boy. I mean, I love going to live sports, and I used to love to go to hockey games. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and the Avalanche came to town, and I used to love going to live hockey games. I mean, I just think it's one of the best sports ever to watch live. You just watching it on TV. There's so much action that happens off puck that when you watch it on TV, you're missing all of that. And then you watch it live and you're just like, oh my gosh, there's so much more going on the ice than you realize. But I would say a couple things that I'm really looking forward to getting back to live sporting events and being able to go. I'm kind of in Central Oregon now. We don't have professional sports here closely, so you have to like go to Portland or go to things farther away. But I'm looking forward to being able to go back to some live sports. The Portland Timbers here in Portland have just an amazing fan base, and really getting to go to one of those live soccer games and hearing get involved with the fan base there is always awesome. I still love volleyball. I love going to watch volleyball. So being able to go to one of those, college tournaments, would definitely be something that I would love to go and do again. Just live sports is just so much fun. I just love going to the games.
Is there an event that you haven't been to that you would like to get your bucket list?
Oh, I've had the opportunity to go to so many amazing sporting events. Trying to think if there's one that would be on my bucket list. I mean, I'd love, I'm a huge Denver Broncos fan, and I'd love to go to the Super Bowl sometime when they're playing. So yeah. I put that on my bucket list.
I actually had it. I grew up a Broncos fan too. Elway got drafted by the Yankees, and I was growing up in New Jersey. I just thought that was awesome. So I was an Elway fan. And I think I had a chance because I think they played in I was in Florida when they played in South Florida. That was actually one of the ones they won, thankfully.
Yeah.
They're able to go if they lose. But, yeah, I don't know. I think a Super Bowl might be better when your team's not playing in it, depending if they win. I don't know. Who knows? But it would be great. Hopefully the Broncos, they're far off right now. There was talks.
Oh, man.
There was talks about getting Rodgers, but he's not leaving Green Bay.
Yeah, no, there's some rebuilding that needs to happen in Denver for sure. And it's been a tumultuous ride the last several years. So
yeah, but you got to get, you win a Super Bowl. You made a great move by bringing Peyton there. Once you win a Super Bowl, you kind of get a little grace. It's hard because you see all the teams like Alabama and the Patriots and teams that get there all the time. It's just that's generally it doesn't happen. So
yeah,
people get even in the Eagles, they wanted to fire the coach 3 years after they won a Super Bowl. I'm like, let's give them a little bit. It's not that easy, especially if you don't win it the next year, things start to happen. You got to rebuild. I hope to be at the Super Bowl this year in LA, hopefully working in some capacity with Ticket Time Machine. My wife has actually been to a couple of Super Bowls. She's a Philadelphia Eagles fan. She's seen them play a few times, and she was at the Super Bowl down here with the Chiefs and the Niners. So she's been to Super Bowl. I haven't been to the Super Bowl yet. I've been to Super Bowl parties.
Yeah, me too.
I was at the Fanatics Super Bowl party 2 years ago, and it was insane how great of an event it was. And hopefully I'll get back to there. It's a tough ticket. It might be the toughest ticket in all of the Super Bowl parties, but I hope to get there. Do you have a Mount Rushmore of athletes, people either you admire the most or you think are the best or your favorite for any type? Mount Rushmore, give us four.
Well, I mean, Peyton Manning for me is somebody who, that I hold in high esteem and mostly for his leadership, and just his ability to elevate a team. And so I'm part of it, just I loved him before he became a Denver Bronco. And then when he became a Denver Bronco, it made it even better for me.
Yeah, Peyton's weird for me because I'm a Gator. So I hated him with a passion when he was at Tennessee. But once he got to Indy, I kind of liked him. He's got his personality is so underrated.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff that he does, the commercials. I mean, not even the nationwide, but some of the older stuff. And then when he went to the Broncos, everyone was mad that they got rid of Tebow, but I mean, it's Peyton Manning, and it was the right move. So I was happy to have him.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's definitely somebody. I would say Megan Rapinoe is another person that I really admire. And she just is an amazing athlete, but also, again, a leader. And she uses her platform to try and, improve the world. So yeah. I think she's someone that I hold in really high esteem as well.
Abby Wambach is in sort of the same vein. She has a book. It's pretty good. I recommend It's a short book. It's an easy read, and it's just about fighting, fighting for what you deserve.
Yeah,
All right, so we
absolutely.
got Megan and Peyton. Let's get two more.
Boy, let me think. I would say, Ashton Eaton. He is a, gold medal decathlon. He is one of the most humble people, and he's just an amazing athlete. Came from very humble beginnings, and he just is like, when I think of being a multi-sport athlete, he's like the epitome of it, and he's just a really solid guy. And just, yeah, I have a lot of respect for him. And then I'd say the last one is another Olympian, is Michael Phelps. And mostly because, I mean, obviously he's a phenomenal swimmer, but just I think kids can learn so much from him just watching his discipline. And, sometimes people can look at other professional athletes and just think they're so gifted or this, that, or the other thing. And Michael absolutely has, gifts. But it's his work ethic more than anything that allows him to perform at the level that he does. And so I admire that.
Yeah, Phelps is interesting. It's crazy how much better he was than everyone. You're seeing that a little bit with Simone Biles right now, although, gymnastics is it's like a centimeter, right? A centimeter off. And so who knows, but Usain Bolt is one of those guys was just unbeatable. So Phelps is definitely up there. Maybe one of the greatest Olympians of our time. He's definitely up there.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll let you out of here the same way we let everyone out of the Wolff Den. Give us a person that you would like to spend 24 hours with or spend a day with, and you can't be related to them, and they have to be alive. Who are you going to pick? And what are you guys going to do? We have a list going, and I've already done some outreach to kind of make it happen. We've had a wide range. Yesterday was Britney Spears. We've had Obama and Oprah and Trump and you name it. So it could be someone you listed as on the Mount Rushmore. It could be anyone else. It could be outside of sports. What do you got?
I would say, oh my gosh, if I could spend a day with the Manning family, with Eli, Peyton, and their dad, and just like spend time with them, and and I would love to like pick their brain about how they could use their voices to help our organization help more kids. That would be the best thing. And I would love to go golfing with them. I think it'd be so much fun to like be on a golf course with them. And I don't know. I think it'd be really funny, and I think it'd be really entertaining, and but it'd be inspirational at the same time. That would be my bucket list.
It's going to be interesting to see how Arch, he's getting a lot of action in college. I think he's next year or the year after, and so much pressure. But obviously, you get a lot of advantages to being a Manning kid.
Oh yeah,
a lot of pressure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Well, we'll put the Manning family. If we have to pick one, we'll go with Peyton, but we'll put them on the list for you and see what we can do. June 22nd, we have a national rollout for Every Kid Sports. You can go to everykidsports.org, right? And I'm here, Twitter and Instagram, Every Kid Sports. How can people participate, support? What's the best way for them to help or get help?
Yeah, we have 3 ways that people can help. One is obviously to donate. For every dollar that is donated, 85 cents goes right back out to helping a kid in need. And so, and the other 15 cents goes to, running our organization, keeping the lights on, and paying the people on my team that approve all the applications and ensure that it's going to a family in need. So we pride ourselves on being super efficient and really careful with every penny that comes in. The second thing that they can do is they can volunteer. So we need people who are willing to go out into the community and share that this program is available. And a lot of times for underserved communities, it means going door to door and reaching out to people that they trust. We're looking at actually working with barbershops. A lot of times in local communities, the barber and the barbershop is an extension of their living room. It's where people gather to learn about what's going on and to share stories. And so we need people that can go out to those different areas and reach out. And then the third area is really, the third and the fourth is connecting us either to corporate partners or people that you think would, have the means to be able to support us in a big way. And then also connecting us to athletes and, people that have a big reach socially that can help us promote what we're doing as well. So those are the ways people can help.
The athletes only participate if they get paid. I mean, this is something like you're trying to give money to help. Whatever money you might give an athlete to support you or sponsor you or be an influencer could be much better served for these kids who need it. How does that work? I know it's a weird question, but I always get, it's weird because we talked to someone who had a gala, which is a foundation, and they had to pay someone an extraordinary amount of money just to do a small bit. And I'm like, well, that money, it could have been much better going to the people who need it.
Yeah, we do not pay any of our athletes. So it's all volunteer based, and it's they're either inspired to help and join us. And so, no, I don't pay the athletes to do that.
I think that's the right way to go. I mean, you're going to find the people who truly want to be a part of it. And it's not going to look like Tom Selleck selling reverse mortgages on TV or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want that. To spend money on that, it would have, I can't make that pencil out as far as producing a big enough return to make it worthwhile. And if you have to pay somebody to get them to do that, it's not the same authentic content as somebody who's just inspired.
I agree. Well, hopefully we'll find some people to support and join the team. I know at Mark's events, he has some great ones. I feel like I saw you. Did I see you at the locker room with Tim?
I know, but that's coming up.
Yeah, so we'll see you there. You'll find some great people, great athletes, and great organizations. Well, check it out on June 22nd, the launch, Every Kid Sports. And we look forward to hearing how the rollout goes and seeing this just kind of blossom and help kids get to play sports the way that we got to and how much joy it brought us. So appreciate your time here and happy to help any way I can.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. It's been a pleasure. And it was a great conversation. And we're super excited to launch our program. And I'd love to come back on, and share with you, how it went and what we learned from doing this. So
we'll definitely have you guys on and get an update.
All right.
Thanks, Natalie. Tune in tomorrow for we have a musician joining us on the Wolff Den. So we're going to hear some music and talk some music and have a great day. See you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.